Hey guys, George Roddy Jr., Foreclosure Listing Service. Thanks for joining me. I wanted to take 10 minutes and go over a foreclosure overview, the process, procedures, the pitfalls, and the profit centers. So let's begin. What is a foreclosure? Well, my definition is it's a legal process by which a lender, whether that lender be a person or an institutional bank, can force the sale of a person's property to satisfy an existing debt. So, in other words, if you take out a mortgage and you don't make payments on that mortgage, the lender, they don't own the property, but they have the right to foreclose or force the sale to collect on that debt. I have a question for you guys. It's multiple choice. Number one, do you think a foreclosure property is an owner that's 2 months delinquent on their mortgage? Number two, do you think it's a HUD listing? Number three, is it a lien or a loan that is posted for public auction? Or number four, is it a bank-owned property, otherwise known as real estate owned or REO? The answer is number three. In our opinion, a foreclosure is a lien or loan that is posted for a public auction, not a bank-owned property, because once it becomes a bank-owned property, it no longer, in our mind, is a foreclosure. It's already gone through the foreclosure process. Let's just talk about numbers. In Texas, here are the top seven markets in Texas as far as foreclosure volume. Harris County has 3,000 properties a month, and these are 2010 numbers. On average, 3,000 properties are posted each and every month in Harris County, which is Houston. That's the largest. Then you have Dallas, which is 2,400 a month, and Dallas County, not city of Dallas proper. You have Tarrant County, which is over in Fort Worth, Arlington. That's 1,500 a month. Bexar County, which is San Antonio and the outlying areas, is 1,300 a month. Collin County, which is like Plano, Allen, McKinney, that's 650 a month. Denton County, which is Flower Mound, Louisville, Denton. And then Travis County is 550, which is Austin and the surrounding cities. These are the top counties in the state of Texas for foreclosure volume. And let's talk about the process. There's really six stages in the foreclosure that leads up to the foreclosure process. So the first stage is origination. When somebody takes out a loan, they originate a loan. They're making their payments. So once you originate a loan and you start making payments, you're current on your mortgage. Then the next stage is default, but I have like a little cursor in the middle, and that is a hardship. Something occurs or a hardship occurs, and that leads to default. When you fall behind 30, 45 days, you're not in foreclosure, you're actually in default. What happens is most lenders will try to work with a homeowner or not do anything for 6 to 8 months. So once we see a pre-foreclosure, that's actually when the bank has scheduled it for an upcoming auction. That's step or stage 4 in the process, and that's actually when it's made public. Once it's posted for an upcoming auction, that's the first and only time here in the state of Texas that it's made public. Typically 6 to 8 months is what a lender will allow a homeowner to go or a borrower to go before they do the actual deed of posting them for foreclosure. Then you have step 5 is the auction. If the homeowner doesn't make arrangements to bring the loan current or pay off the loan or get into some kind of payment plan or file bankruptcy to protect their interest in the property, then it's going to go to an auction, and there it's pretty cut and dry. The lenders hire a lawyer. The lawyer carries out the foreclosure, and thus transferring ownership. A lot of properties that show up on the auction steps get purchased by the bank. And the reason why, and that's stage 5 where I point to REO, once the bank offers it at a public auction and no one bids, meaning the bank usually opens the bid at a certain dollar amount. If no one bids more than that, then the property is going to transfer to the bank and thus become an REO. There are two auctions that occur each and every month. One is a delinquent mortgage auction called a trustee sale, and the second auction is a delinquent taxes auction, otherwise known as a constable and sheriff sale. On a delinquent mortgage auction, most of the liens that you can buy on the courthouse steps, it doesn't come with a redemption period. Meaning, if you bought a lien on the courthouse steps, you could turn around and sell that property the next day or the next week. But if you are buying delinquent property taxes, the second auction, and by the way, this is the smaller of the two auctions, the constable or sheriff's auction, there is what's called a statutory redemption period, meaning you can't sell or refinance that property because the former homeowner has the right to redeem, or otherwise known as pay you back. The second thing is, what are you buying? You're buying a lien, L-I-E-N. A lien is a legal claim against an asset that can be forced to collect the debt. There might be several liens on a property, and that's through research you can determine that long before you go down to the auction. But banks have a lien against the property, and they have the right to force the sale to collect on that lien. A lien is basically like a mortgage, but there's pool liens, there's HOA liens, there's mortgage liens. So just keep that in mind. The auction is held the first Tuesday of every month, and there are no holiday exceptions. It happens on the courthouse steps. Now the fourth is, the Texas Property Code requires the public and the borrower to be notified at least 21 days. So 21 days before the auction, that's when properties are posted at the courthouse. And that's where FLS, our company, Foreclosure Listing Service, we go down and retrieve this public information. We add information to it and we sell it as a product. And I'll talk about that on the next slide. The last thing on the left-hand side is the property, residential, commercial, and land. 90% of the properties that are posted for foreclosure and eventually foreclosed on are residential properties, single-family homes. They're not commercial property and it's not land. 90% of the time it's houses. On the right-hand side, trivia questions. What are the two ways to buy a foreclosure? Number one is before the auction, and number two is at an auction. Number two is, what are the four hardships? Really, this is not in any kind of sequential order, but here they are. Number one is job loss, unemployment, or underemployment. Number two is health. People get sick and they can't make the payments. Number three is divorce. People separate. One person's left with a mortgage payment and they can't afford it. And number four is adjustable rate mortgages. We believe that the banks got a little bit too creative and it's coming back to bite borrowers and or lenders. So number three is, how many months is the average borrower behind on their loan? How many months does it take typically on average for a bank to foreclose? It typically takes around 6 to 8 months. Again, there is no statute that says they have to wait that long. Extreme cases on both sides. I've seen banks foreclose after 2 months, and I've seen banks wait up to 10 years to foreclose. It's really up to the bank. Number four, what are the 5 options a homeowner facing foreclosure can choose? Here they are. Number one, they can absolutely still try to work with their lender. The lender might be a little miffed at them, but there's still a chance to work with the lender. Number two is work with a new lender. It is very difficult to get a loan right now, especially for someone who hasn't made payments to their existing bank. But there are cases, and I can go in further, not in this video, but I can show you how I've seen banks or people, private lenders, lend money to people who are in foreclosure. Number three is bankruptcy. That is a viable option for someone facing foreclosure. Number four is sell their house. Once the property's been posted, homeowners still have the right to sell their house. And number five is do nothing. Some people, if you don't choose 1 through 4, by default you choose number 5, which is to do nothing. And that leads me into question number 5, is what percentage of the properties are actually foreclosed on? Say you have 2,000 properties posted. How many of those actually show up on the courthouse steps? And the answer is 30 to 35%. Only 30 to 35% will actually show up on the courthouse steps. Number 6 is, if you buy a second lien on the courthouse steps, do you own the property? Yes or no? The answer is yes. Any property that you buy on the courthouse steps gives you ownership. But you don't own the property free and clear. If you buy a second lien, you still inherit the first lien, and to own the property free and clear, you'd have to pay off or satisfy the first. Which liens fall off before the auction? Question number 7. The answer is none. Nothing falls off before an auction, but believe me, a lot of liens will fall off or get extinguished at an auction. That's helpful to you because there might be a lot of debt on the property, but if you were to buy a lien on the courthouse steps, most of the debt gets extinguished. And lastly, if you purchase a tax lien, can you sell it immediately? I just want to make sure you guys understand. The answer is typically no. And the reason why is because there are people that have the right, the former homeowner have the right to redeem. That's the bad news. The good news is, if they redeem, they're going to pay you a fabulous premium for doing that. And I'm talking 25% on your money if they redeem. And if they don't redeem, you get the property obviously at a discount because you paid 20, 30, maybe 40 cents on the dollar. So it's a fabulous investment strategy, but it's long term. So where do you get foreclosure data? Where do you get educated more on buying Texas foreclosures? The place to go is www.flsonline.com. For the last 43 years, we've been going down to the courthouses, going down to the auctions actually, because our staff goes down to the auctions and tracks which properties are actually foreclosed on, who's buying what, and for how much. So if you have an interest in buying a property, your next investment property, or a property that you want to live in and own or occupy, we strongly suggest that you take a look at buying Texas foreclosures. We can educate you. We can give you the data. All you need is your effort and your capital. I hope you learned a few things about the foreclosure process. Please call us if you have any questions. My name is George Roddy Jr. I look forward to meeting you here in the near future. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.